Hello everyone, how very good of you to join, and welcome back to Foundation once more, to Eldengate, a growing community right here in the middle of nowhere, basically. And well, we're not gonna make this place into a nowhere town, we're gonna make this into a prosperous big city, and for that, we're gonna accept more immigrants, more people that join the community. 37 it is right now. Some of them are already going to church, others are going to work in the forests, others are selling their goods at the market, and once again, others, well, are collecting money from people directly. Now, I continue this right away with, well, huge investments. That is 2 more territories that we can purchase now. The first one is right this one here, with that mineral deposit right there in the center. It offers, we don't know that yet. I'm pretty sure it's stone, but we'll just see what it really is. 2 of them available, and we'll just see what it is. And I'm gonna purchase this one here as well right away. That's another 20 coin in upkeep per month. We can afford this, with every other one costing me more per month from now on. Now, with that, I can also go ahead and use some of my money to get me the clothing upgrade. This will unlock me the sheep farm and the weaver. Those we can use for more selling of goods. Progressing with the estates, this is also another quest coming in. With that out of the way, I would like to now move more into this direction. That is especially now with the wood cutting. So we're gonna make sure that no tree is left unturned in this area. I'm gonna, though, yeah, slow it down in this area for now. And we're gonna make sure that we do get enough hunting ground, because meat will remain now one of the most important things that we have to continue providing my population with food. There we have it. There's a huge area here available right now that we can use, and it's even going a bit into that area. On the other side, it's this one here that I would like to preserve a bit for future hunting. Right now though, it's looking very good with the meat, especially since also fish is now coming in. As of the last episode, the end of the last episode, we got 46 fish in, and this is adding food variety, and with that, reducing the overall consumption of each individual good. Now, what I'm gonna do here right away is, of course, adding now my new sheep farm, and for this, we can use that area now that we have available, probably a bit further over here. There you go. The money that we lost, or, well, invested, I can now finally get ahead with my mandate, discuss the levy of your villagers. We have a high enough happiness so that I can buy the penalty. That's 30% villager reduction in happiness for a certain period of time, and we get 111 coin immediately. Selling goods also makes up for a lot of coin. The planks we sold for 25, and the meat we sold for 63. Construction-wise, we now need to start with the Weaver Hut. This is a building that does not cause any pollution, so it would be great as a buffer between buildings that cause pollution and my neighborhood. For this, I would like to move also the lumber camp now. That's something that's done really quick, and of course we want to anyway, because I want to move it closer to the forest areas that we have. So we're gonna establish another one here. And the room that we have available, we can now fill with a Weaver Hut, for example. This one here. The sheep farm has been finished right over here. It still needs its pasture in the back of it, so let's add this one until we have an adequate sized pasture. Let's assign 2 people to that. Still too small. Now it's adequate. At this point, an issue arises, and that is that we're running out of tools. So what I can do now is I can use some of my trade surplus and my tax income to also buy me something now, and that's of course the tools. I'm gonna need this for now until we have around 10 tools available. And in preparation to that, we could also start with the tool production right over here. And since we already have found an iron site right over here, we can also build me now a camp. I'm gonna have this one behind the granary over there to start mining some iron. The weaver hut has been finished, and with that we do get the first processing of wool into cloth. Another trading for logs, and yes, of course, we should do this. The king is planning new outposts around the borders. One of his merchants noticed your woodcutter camps and wants to make you an offer. 150 coin, we get also 5 kingdom splendor points, and we will also get rid of 100 logs. Sounds like a very good deal to me. Finally, we purchased some more tools, have the iron camp now working, and with that, we can also go ahead now and start our charcoal hut that we're gonna need to produce coal. This is gonna chop down trees, so I'm gonna have this first of all a bit further away, of course, from everything, and on top of that, closer where we have then the forest that we wanna chop down. I'm gonna have me one over there. Together with this, we're gonna need an iron smelter. I'm gonna have this a bit closer now to my already existing industry buildings. Like here, for example, we can have it just along the road. And I would also like to build me now a blacksmith that will then produce tools for us. Also gonna have this one right here across the street. Getting a bit more money out of my population with the next levy, since happiness is high enough. The smelter is ready and processes now iron and coal into ingots. Finally, the blacksmith finished consuming all the polish stone that we just had, and now we can assign the last 2 unemployed villagers into blacksmiths, and they're now producing then coal and ingots into tools. And there it is, an industrial clang of metal echoes through the village. Tools are now crafted, not bought. Your villagers are eager to build, create and thrive with these sturdy instruments. And as the town is growing, of course, we should also start moving the city center a bit, because right now it's too far down here in the south, and I would like to move it up together with the church and also a new location for the manor house where we can expand the size even further. I would like to apply this now over there. Together with the market. Just in this tiny corner, we can now add, for example, the tailor workshop. That's a building that we can have right here because it causes no pollution and it fits into a nice looking town. And I would also like to start with my first decorations, tier 2. Now, decorations are really important in this game because they add a beauty area in the surrounding area. So for example, placing a tree down here doesn't do that much on its own, right? It's just a tree. Some of these buildings might be affected by that. But if I add now more decorations into this beauty area, you can see that we can immediately now enlarge this beauty area. And the more decorations I add, the more the merrier. Village decorations. For example, adding some bushes here in the background to this tree towards that house immediately increases that beautification area. We might also add a hanging lantern post. And perhaps even a second tree over here. A road sign. And with that, this area is growing now. There should be an overlay, beautification. And this is now kind of like one cohesive, well, beautification area. And the more we add, the bigger the range gets. The more buildings we affect with this, and as you can see, in the medium quality housing now, we have beautification area, desirable neighborhood, and then we just need a commoner residence for this to level up. So it is time to go ahead now and start with our first promotions. And as we can see, the blacksmith, for example, would immediately profit from this. There's professions that require higher tier of population to be more efficient. So the blacksmith, for example, 20 coin, it costs me each. So let's have those 2 upgraded together with 2 butchers. The goods market stalls are now required to sell clothing to the commoners. I would also like to continue now with the expansion of my manor house. Right over here we have now the space. So for example, a nice little tower in the back of it. Let's make this a bit taller. Some sort of chimney. And we might also add a weather vane to this one here. Together with another tax office that we can add now to the manor house. That we also provide a second tax collector. As the town is growing, this is required. We should also provide the next territory over here, where we can now start with the next neighborhood that I would like to implement somewhere over here. We can make the connection with the other neighborhood over there, I would like to keep a bit of a distance around my church, so that we can keep this building here expanding without having to interfere with too many houses then at once. As we can see also, the first upgrades are coming along right over here. For a real house now and not a wooden shack anymore that we had before. And this is where commoners now live in. Alrighty, in order to continue with my industry zones, we need more wood. Wood is currently something that we process into planks. We make coal out of that. We need it for construction. We will need it for fortifications. And we're gonna need it for more neighborhoods. So we need a proper area where we can set this up. And this is a good area for it. We have lots of trees. I'm gonna purchase me this territory here in addition. There you go. With that, we also reached tier 3. And we can now go ahead and I'm gonna solidify this. And I'm gonna have now all of my lumber camps here together. And we're gonna make a bigger lumber camp area than here. The cool thing is, we can have the lumber camp improvements. Let's also unlock us these, because they're really powerful and give me a few tools that we can work around with. With this, I don't need this lumber camp here anymore, so I'm gonna straight delete it. What we also will need is a building that we've already had from the start, and that's the forester camp. And I haven't built this one yet, so let's also go ahead and get me that forester camp right here next to my lumber camp hut, somewhere over there. Basically making this whole area. Now here in the module section of the lumber camp, we now have additional modules that I can use, like a snoring post for an additional worker that we can have here. I can also have a munching post for more workers even, right? So let's also get this one going right over here. We can have some log piles that we pile up over here in the background of everything. And this is where we can then store more resources out of it, right? So this is another 50 of wood per piece. Stewing post. We do have some woodsman tool rack. What is that? Waterproofed? Oh, it has a roof. All right. We can also have the one without the waterproofing stuff. This is 5 cloth that we can save with that. It's the same labor splendor points though. So let's go ahead and build me also one of these here. A tool shack. Some over here as well for these guys. And with that, we can create a nice smaller camp here now. Providing all of that. I think also, yeah, this one here gives you an additional worker. So let's go ahead and do this. So that's a lot of expansion. And with that, we can make this into a bigger camp than ever. And the same applies then for the forest camp, that is replanting those trees. One problem we face with that, of course, is that the boar will disappear and then move them to the back here. Luckily, as you can see, we really have a lot of space to move the hunters over there as well, right? So this here now is gonna be forest area, because we don't want to disturb the hunters really. So this is all gonna be wood cutting area from now on. All the way to the sheep farm there. I'm probably gonna close it here. So we don't need this one here anymore. There you go. And right here at the edge of my town, we now have a forestry. There's also my forester camp already. And we're gonna put this one into a reforestation area now that we can then also draw here. So all of this here, of the wood that we're using, is being reforested then as well, right away. Probably up to this point. All of this, of course, creates a new road here as well that we're gonna need. Now, the hunter, I'm probably gonna... I'm gonna move the hunter also a bit further here now to the back. Closer to the sheep farm there once again, and he can then work this boar field. Bear in mind, we already have a second hunter on the other side of town, hidden a bit here in the forest for this area, right? So 2 hunters are needed at this point to get the meat production up. It also allows me now to add more houses here, where previously we had some industry zone. Let's just be careful that we're not cutting too much there into that butcher. Just look at that. There is now 6 lumbers or lumberjacks employed. I will definitely need another forester camp for all of this though. I would also like to continue cleaning up my city center. And for that, I'm gonna move my iron camp. And what we can do now is we can make a resource removal of this iron deposit here. I think it's just not looking very good in the town center. I'm also gonna start now decorating my manor house. This has a very good reason, because every decoration we add gives me more labor splendor points. We're gonna need them to unlock us a few more extra buildings. There you go. And with that, we have a little entrance here that we can apply now. And this immediately reaches us to the next level. It did cost me a bit, like 100 coin, but that's that. This path here will then divert a bit further over here. And then we have an entrance going into my manor house just over there. And hopefully the path here will also then adjust itself again. With this out of the way, we can finally go for some more things that we can add now. And one of them is a tavern. And the tavern is really cool because we already get travelers into the village, and travelers pay nicely. So building one of these provides a nice, reliable source of income. Now the tavern should be situated somewhere in the center. Don't forget, this resource deposit here will disappear. It will be permanently demolished right now. There's the market. So we now have this one then straight towards the market where it should be. Perhaps we move it a bit further to the back here. There is a road, but this road disappears then just. Gonna add us some nice decorations to this one here. Definitely some tables outside. Of course, chimneys belong to it. And some trees, but bear in mind this is getting very expensive, so I'm just rather gonna build me that one here. And once this is finished, we should be also able to get the first guests in. An isolated community of fishermen is looking for a kind-hearted builder. They need constructing a bridge to connect the village to the rest of the realm. They don't have much to offer, but they promise to spread the word about your generosity amongst the laborers. And my best builder will draw you a blueprint. We get 10 points. Labor influence points, or let me hire someone on your behalf. That cost me 50 coin and is a guaranteed success, whereas this one here is only 90%. Let's go ahead and hire someone for them and get us the points. I continue with a bit more neighborhood over here. Quite the construction, and we can already assign a taverner to this area here then, as we also reach 65 on the population. I would also like to add a second granary now, since granary number 1 is already quite full and getting also now full with the last good that we can provide. We have 100 fish here. We have actually 200 fish in stock right now. I don't know where the other 80 fish are, because there's 50 in the fishing hut. So 30 fish must be still flying around somewhere. I would like to continue promoting more villagers based on the money that I have. So I've got 300 coin. Let's get the iron smelters up. That's 2 more. And then the stonemason. Definitely also the tax collectors. Makes them way more efficient. We also have the village priest that we can upgrade. And both weavers. That's a lot more upgrades, especially in the neighborhood. And of course, a church upgrade will also be needed soon, as we're reaching the limit here. So capacity it is of 30, and we're reaching this now weekly. Alright, there it is. A tavern in our village has been established, and travelers are rejoicing over our village's very first tavern. Happiness bonus of 10% for villagers with villager and combatant profile. We get another 10% on the happiness. Rejoicing tale, there it is. I would also like to add a berry brewery now. This is where we can make, well, basically beer. You know, berry beer. Well, wasn't that funny? And we are just gonna have our brewery. Then somewhere here, we already have the butcher close by. And I would like to get me this building here as well, together with a nice entrance. Do we have barrels or something like that? Yeah, we have barrels as decoration. How very nice. Alright, so here we have them. Let's also give them a nice decoration here. Some color. A chimney should be required. A short chimney is probably all I would like to afford at this point. Somewhere up here in the back. There you go. We can actually build this rather quickly. Get also some splendor points. And reach tier 3. On top of that, we can now start producing then berry brew for us. So many upgrades going on right now. Since a lot of houses are upgrading. That could bring my builders to the limit. By the way, why is no one building on this plot here? This should be an ideal plot. And despite being high on wool, we're low on cloth. So I would also like to get me another weaver. That is something you have to do quite early in the game. And this is why I reserved that space here for, to add me that second weaver right here. And that brewer will also need a well. So let's just place this one. And as you can see, roads that are not being used, well, they just disappear over time. That construction takes quite some time. We have 28 stone, but no one delivers it. The church is full, so we really need to upgrade this next. But right now my builders are busy. Problem number 3 that we have to tackle is that we have no access to refined food. Now, the problem here is that we do have a food stall with the meat, but it's not enough anymore. There's so many people purchasing stuff that the storage of the market itself is not enough, as you can see. So it's quickly running out, and now it's gone completely. So in this case here, we need to increase the size of the market and its shape perhaps also a bit. Right now it's looking like a smaller, you know, fish market or so. Fish. And what I would like to do now is create a real proper market. So all of these were singular market stalls. But if you go ahead and you now select a market, you can now select several markets in one area, like this one here, right? Where we have the space to create us a bigger market that we can then use here in this plaza area. So I hope that this area is getting bigger than with that, by adding more stalls over here. So that's another two more food stalls that I would like to have, right? And both of them are also getting now some proper tents that we can add. We could say, for example, for food, we're getting the blue tents. Is that blue? Looks like rainbow color to me. We also got the rustic tent. Also has an interesting color to it. Let's go for it. Giving it a sign. Are we too close to the entrance there? I think we will need to move all of this a bit. Further over. The same goes with this one. There you go. And here we can now start a row of buildings. The same goes on the other side of the street and then around that center here. I think that's enough for now. Let's build this one. Wood for the bishop. He's looking to build a few chapels along the pilgrimage routes. One of his merchants noticed your woodcutter camps and wants to make you an offer. He noticed my woodcutter camps but not my storage. Okay, we have 0 amount of logs stored. That's not true. We have over 100, in fact. It's good money though, right? So the thing is, it needs to be stored in the warehouse. So I'm gonna employ some more people here and make the wood fall in here. Because right now we're storing the logs here in the log camp. And look at that. The trees are regrowing so fast that we could add even more lumberjacks here. Right? And as you can see, there's a lot of logs now stored. But I guess we need more. So you know what? Let's actually go ahead and get me a stewing post going. Right here in the center. That provides food. I will also probably need a second stonecutter camp, as the one that we have right now is not enough for the amount of stone. By the way, we do have a stone deposit here, but it's just outside of my territory. We could purchase this. Or I'm using this one down here again, right? So we move the other one. So they're chopping down the stone right now here. I could also do it here. In fact, we can do this because, as you can see, that stonecutter camp is not really affecting these buildings if I have it right next to it. The more jobs we provide, the more immigration we generate. And there is another 2 people coming in right away, just as we finished that market here now. So we can assign our 2 market tenders. One is also going to have the meat, and the other one is also going to have the fish. I've also added a second gathering hut for berries now on this side here. We got lots of berries here. The problem is that we consume the berries not only from my population, but of course also now from my berry brewery, where we're producing now the berry brew that we are then selling at the tavern. So we have around 15 available right now. I could think about, I think one of them actually purchased that, right? Berry brews? No. There it is, but it's only 1 gold coin. No, that's not worth it. Finally, also this area here is getting now finished, just along the paths. Alright, so far it was a rather chaotic road network, but now we're organizing this a bit through the neighborhoods and building along the paths that have been created thus far. Happiness is high. This is a great opportunity of getting more money, and we're getting 220 coin now every time we do this. Of course, we lose the happiness, but the happiness recovers rather quickly. As we can see, service though is also really climbing now to -7 again. That's because the church is too small. So that would be my next expansion for the city. Yeah, and this is starting to look like a proper market now, right? So this is the old type. We're gonna get rid of that soon, and then we're adding more proper tents here for a bigger market. It's also time to unlock us tier 2 labor privileges. And all the way down here we have them now in my edicts and privileges book, and we have once again the option of choosing one of them here, and they're pretty powerful, like trade price bonus of 10% from village with labor allegiances, or you can have 1 more concurring tax without penalty. A residential taxation happiness effect is decreased by 25%. In fact, I would like to go ahead with the residential taxation happiness effect of 25%, because with that, the taxation penalty that we're getting... where's my taxation? There it is. It's not that severe anymore. It's only 11% now, instead of the 15 that it was before, and thus we can tax my people a bit higher, leading to 200 coin per month now. That is if we have enough taxators, and I think 2 of them should be fine. We can once again also have a look at my overlay here. Get the taxation tracker going, and we can see that there's 1 to 0 coins. There's actually 2, so there should be a tax collector coming in soon. I think they can house though up to 20, right? So the money is not really lost. It's just an indication that we might not have enough tax collectors anymore soon. And yeah, in general, in these naked areas that we have so far, we could then also add some more decorations. For this, I would like to go ahead and unlock me also now the tier 3 decorations, because this gives me something. And that is a fountain. Somewhere here in the center, we could add one. For 10 polished stone, we got 50, and that's it. Placing this one here, and around that, we can then have some trees, some benches, and whatnot. Also some road signs here. There's a crossroad. Makes sense to add this one here. There is some natural trees here too that have to disappear though. There's the fountain. Around the fountain I would like to have some benches. Could we go with stone benches? Yes. Absolutely. And even this cool looking thing there. Wait a second. Gonna move this one step further. To have it right next to my guild there. There's still those trees, but we can also get rid of them somehow soon. This adds a lot of attractiveness again, and as you can see, these houses also want to upgrade now. And this will be a general park area then here that we can establish. The population of Eldengate continues to rise, close to 80. With that also we get more and more prosperity, because don't forget, the wealth, territory, and my population all counts to this. And with that we could also go with some farming now, especially the bread production should be one of my next priorities. Thus ends the journey for now for Eldengate. Next, I would like to continue overhauling the market. We need a bigger church for sure, and a church ground, a proper one. And I would also like to move a bunch more industrial buildings further away, so that we build a bigger storage area than right here where we got some camps sitting around right now. Lots of work to do. Might also need some fortifications at some point soon. I hope you enjoyed this one. That's Foundation for you. Welcome to Eldengate. Stay tuned.